Hi team, and welcome to the Entrepreneur Conversation with me, yes, James Martin. And today we have got a very special guest all the way from sunny Rutland. And I've spent some time with him up there, and we're going to interview Matt Kerry and his entrepreneur journey. How about that? We're going to see what his journey was. What did he use for transport? The Hyde at Manton Bay in Rutland, sunny Rutland. It hasn't always been sunny when I've been there, but it is a super duper glamping site right on the Rutland Water. And I think it's about 22 miles to cycle all the way around it. It is fabulously beautiful, and so is Matt, and we're going to have a conversation with him today and find out all things to do with glamping. Welcome, Matt.
Hi.
Matthew, Matt, what are we doing?
Matt, I think.
Matt, okay.
Please, yeah.
Matt, thank you for coming down. You spent the night here at Baddow Park.
Yeah.
How was
Great,
it?
thank you.
Comfy?
Yep, lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Beautiful spot.
Lovely.
Yeah.
We were at a big conference yesterday, so you came down to see us, and you brought your dad.
Yes.
And do you bring your dad everywhere? Is this something, a comfort blanket?
I'll try and avoid it if I can.
Now, listen, you do business with your family, your father, don't you?
Yeah. That's why I wanted to bring him, just to...
He's a whirlwind, isn't he?
Yeah.
He really, I mean, he's gone off today to look at another bit of land that he wants to buy and stuff. I mean, he really is a force. And it's obviously where you get it from.
Yeah.
But let's go back. Yeah. That's not what started happening, did it?
No.
So go back. Your family is very musical.
Yeah.
And they were proper, like their own artists in their own right.
Yeah.
And your mum was a...
She was a singer and a bass player.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad was a musician, so they had like a family band, that they did for a long time.
Right. Okay.
And they used to tour a lot. Played with Chet Atkins and people like that. They were quite a country band. They were. I'm into jazz, but they did.
But I went, oh yeah, I know about jazz. But you've honed me in. So what is it? Explain this. This is guitar, yeah.
Yeah, I play jazz guitar, but the style that just got me was Gypsy Jazz or jazz manouche. They call it in France. It's a big deal in France and Germany and Holland as well. And it's kind of pioneered by Django Reinhardt and Stefan Grappelli in the 30s. And it's, if you hear it, I mean, if you're interested, just check it out, because if you hear it, it's just the most insane music, just infectious.
Okay.
It's like the kind of European gypsy take on jazz music. So they had their traditional gypsy music, and then they heard American jazz as it came across in the 30s. And Django Reinhardt would just hear records, memorize the tunes, and then go and record his own take on it.
Right, okay.
And the result of it is just completely different versions of these songs.
But what was interesting, and I don't play any, I play the spoons, that's just about it. But what was interesting was you were explaining to me last night at dinner that you feel terrible that you're not doing the practicing. I thought, well, if you can play the piano, you can play the piano.
But, yeah, to a certain extent. But if you want to be good, you have to put the practice in. Okay. Otherwise, especially if you're competitive with it, because you get left behind. Okay. Everyone else is practicing and you're not. And
this was you were with your gorgeous Natalia that I've met, your partner. She's lovely. Yeah. And you met at the young age of 18. And you were down in the smoke in London. Yeah. Give us a bit of that, because there was an entrepreneur, even with the music involved in your world. Yeah. You were still doing twists and flicks on the side.
Yeah. So it was always there, like in the background. I've always been really interested in it and had it in me, I think. But yeah, so we met in Nottingham, actually, and then we moved to London to just become jazz musicians. She's a jazz singer, really good jazz singer. Right. So we'd play together, lived in London and just did it professionally. And I think at that time we were just happy being jazz musicians. I think that's all we ever wanted to do. So we didn't need much money. We lived quite a humble lifestyle. We're able to just earn enough by doing weddings and gigs and, events and stuff just to be happy. And that's all really we needed, to be honest. But yeah, always had this entrepreneurial kind of nature. And we started like a agency. Just seemed like the next thing to do, because we'd get booked out all the time, and you can't, if you're getting inquiries through, then you can't.
So you just didn't want to waste the inquiry, you plug someone else in and take a bit of their action.
But we built, put a website together, built it, and then we took it fairly seriously. Then we started approaching some good venues in London. Like we'd do the St Pancras Renaissance Hotel. We were doing like music 3 nights a week for them for 3 years or something. Right. Sofitel St James. We did some quite big hotels, did all their music. So it kind of took off, you know. And then, booked out loads of events and weddings and things like that. So that was like the agency side of it.
And was that, and did it bring pennies in? Did it bring pounds in?
Yeah.
It was fairly profitable?
You know, it's like, probably took 40, 50 grand a year from it or something
so
like that.
It was contributing to the whole lifestyle of where you were.
Yeah.
And then this is the bit that I love. You are very good at finding twists, aren't you?
I seem to be.
You like. I've worked with Matt now, and what happens? He's very good. He looks at things from a different angle, legal perspectives and stuff. Tell us about the narrow boats, because that's really interesting. I've never heard this before, and I thought I'd been round the block, but this is interesting.
Yeah, I do somehow end up stumbling on these things and obsessing about thinking about things differently. But you know, me and Natalia lived on a narrowboat for 5 years in London, so that was like our lifestyle. So we got to understand that side of it. Yeah. And then I started renting out narrowboats for other people to live on. Because I kind of noticed, you know, in London it's so expensive to live there. Like no one can buy a house there. Even renting, you more often than not you'd end up sharing a house, wouldn't you? Yeah. So if there's a couple that want their own space, you know, it's quite difficult for them to get that in London. So I started renting out narrowboats. But the thing with it, it's not really something you can do legally, because you have to have a license from the Canal and River Trust. And you have to insure it as well. So when you're renting it out for residential purposes, the insurance won't touch it. Right. I don't know why. It's just a thing. You can't license it properly. You can't insure it properly. So the way we got around that was to sell them a minority share in that boat. Right. So when they paid us a deposit, the deposit would buy them a minority share, so they'd become the owner of that boat. And then they would just return, when they finished, they return the share back to you. Yeah, and we give them the deposit back. It was we drew a contract up for it. But it was like a little loop within what was already existing there. Yeah. And I think it's been a trait, because you do lots of other things. So what happened to the smoke? Because you were down there. So what happened? Because you're now in like the most beautiful place, and it's like, guys, this is the hidden jewel, Rutland Water, where Matt lives and has got a lovely site there. I'd never been there before, and I stayed a few nights over. It is stunningly beautiful. Yeah, it's a special place, isn't it? It really very special. Yeah. I mean, what happened? I mean, COVID happened. Yeah. I know you hear this story a lot, but with us, it was just, you know, 1 minute you've got loads of gigs on, events on. You know, we did like at least one wedding a week for a long time, for 10 years. Yeah. And that COVID just stopped everything. So all the hotels stopped booking music, stopped putting events on. We lost all our gigs. The agency just died. Right. And it's still not even picked up since things have got better. I think the hotels have just realised they didn't really need the music on, and they're probably struggling a bit for money, so they've not even really picked up again. I don't think we realise how the effect of COVID hit and changed the whole sort of dynamic of how people do business, what people's needs were. So you experienced a big chunk of that. So hospitality, I think, was hit massively, wasn't it? Yeah, big time. And then the music just, you know, that's one of the first things when people are struggling for money as well. One of the first things to go is like music and entertainment, because they don't really need it. No. They just put background music on. Yeah. So that just changed everything. And then, you know, during lockdown, we just had a lot of time to think. We really started just thinking, making plans. And that's when I was always into business and entrepreneurship, but that's when I got really, really into it. And I stopped playing guitar so much, because I used to do like 7 or 8 hours a day practice, like for a serious amount of practice. It was my obsession, but I think you always need to have an obsession, don't you? Yeah. But I stopped playing guitar so much, and then just started, you know, studying entrepreneurship. And in this time, you've gone back there for COVID, because that's where your other family are. Rutland, South Lincolnshire kind of border. So moved back home. And what did you do? Buy a house or have a house? What did you do? No, lived in a caravan on our site, the site that you stayed at. Yeah. So we'd make plans. And tell our listeners and viewers, what's that called? What is the site called? It's called The Hyde at Manton Bay. Yeah. Please do look that up, because if you want to have some quality getaway time
with the best sunset, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
It is
it's
just. I'm
unbelievable.
telling you guys, it is the best sunset. I've been there twice, and I will be going back because of my friend will let me stay there for nothing. But it is absolutely the stunning place. It's on a small hill going down to the lake, and it is a fabulous site. I mean, you're going to do big work on that. We'll talk about that a bit later. So you went there.
It's
You were
beautiful,
in a caravan.
Yeah, lived in a caravan there, by choice. It wasn't
Yeah.
hardship.
Yeah.
I like that
And
lifestyle
you're all
anyway.
contained, and it's lovely.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Shut the gates and
that
it's lovely.
view as well
Yeah,
over the water,
beautiful.
right over
Yeah.
the nature reserve, untouched kind of part of Rutland Water.
Yeah.
So we're happy, loved it, and then started building that glamping site.
Yeah.
A nice long summer and just got a load of stuff done.
That's not the only one. You've got 2 or 3 other sites as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. So that's the plan to roll it out.
Yeah. And tell us what is going on with India. Because we met. Let's just do this. Let's backtrack. We met at a business conference in London.
Yeah.
And someone said there's a guy here that makes shepherd's huts, and I was in the market for some shepherd's huts to do a glamping village here.
Yeah.
And I'm going, and they said, oh, he's here. So we had to get on the tannoy.
Yeah.
And say, is the shepherd hut guy there? There's a few hundred people there. The shepherd guy. And we eventually met up after lunch or something.
Yeah.
And we started talking. And explain India. Where's India come into it? This is to do with your dad as well. I mean, he's involved in this.
Yeah,
isn't
we
he?
started this together with my dad. But he'd had a contact from India, going back 20 years. He went over to India, travelling really, to have a look round and just as a trip. And this guy he met was actually his tuk-tuk driver at the time. Yeah.
Of course he was.
Because I said, 20 years later, I said, how did you meet him, Dad? Sanjay. Thinking he'd say, he's a business contact. He said, no, he's just the first tuk-tuk driver I got in. That's my dad all over.
Yeah, it is, he's a great guy.
But so they developed a relationship, and because my dad's in the stone business, right? So he's got quarries, 2 quarries, and he does Lincolnshire limestone.
Yeah.
But he had a relationship with this guy, Sanjay, in India, and they'd bring stone over from India.
Okay.
And tiles and things like that. And it didn't quite work out in the end because they were doing stone fireplaces and stuff, and they weren't quite good enough. They weren't exactly enough, so they kind of drifted apart. And I think Sanjay used to ring my dad sort of a few times a year saying, do you want to do something, for 20 years. And then eventually we thought, well, when we got into the glamping space, we wanted to we started building shepherd's huts in England, and we're like, it's taking a long time to build them. It's it's expensive. Materials are going up all the time, and you need staff and all that sort of stuff. So we thought, well, let's speak to Sanjay, see if we can make them in India.
Okay.
So we drew up a load of plans, spent a long time with him, showing him photos of what we wanted, drawing the plans out, and then he sent the first 2 over. They're the 2 that we've got on our site at the High. They were the first 2 that they ever built, and they got them pretty close.
They got them pretty close, didn't they? I mean, they are very good.
Yeah.
I mean, they're probably a bit of over-engineering,
They
aren't they?
are, actually,
When the nuclear bomb comes, they're staying there.
Yeah,
they are really well built.
Yeah.
No, I'm really
So
impressed.
so they completely fitted out, ready to go. They just put them on a rack, on a container, send them over, and they're done.
And you're still, your dad's still really involved in doing that. He's selling them to wedding venues and all sorts of things. Good stuff going on. But you are really now honing in on making these glamping sites, and I'm interested in this space as well.
Yeah.
We're doing a site here at Baddow Park to feed our wedding venue for extra accommodation. But tell our listeners and viewers, we've studied it. It's a really booming market. Why is that? Because it's a demographic that is looking for this small 3-4 day holiday, aren't they?
Yeah, I think it is definitely booming. I think if you're in the industry, the kind of hardcore glamping people that've been in it a long time, maybe starting to feel like it's oversaturated. But actually, in actual fact, it's only really starting to become mainstream. That's what's happening. Before it was quite a niche thing in England. It's becoming mainstream now. The Travel Lodge mention it on one of their websites. I don't know if you've seen that, but what I got from that is that they're a little bit worried about the money that's going into glamping and taking customers away from them, because they have an advert that's all sort of don't go glamping, and it's got like girls all dressed up and falling in the mud, and how horrific it is. So they're trying to put people off.
They're trying to anti that.
Yeah, which is, they spend a lot of money on
because
that.
Because when I've been to your site, and that, you get a hot tub.
Yeah.
You get a log store, you get little log burners, you get tea bags, you get little milk things. It's all laid on for you. You have a little welcome in there, don't you? You do it all lovely. And Natalia does a lot of work with you to do that. But it is very homely.
Yeah.
The whole atmosphere, it's not hardship. It's
No.
quite luxury, isn't it? You know, when you get there.
I think that's what people are looking for now more. But I think it's a very English thing as well to want to go and stay in the countryside, even if it's raining. People don't really seem to care. And even since COVID as well, even more so. Like, a lot of the younger generation in their early 20s, since COVID, they seem to just want to be outside all the time. Something happened mentally to them where they think, well, it can be taken away from you, which isn't good. I mean, you go to Derbyshire in the Peak District, and it's full of people in their early 20s, quite often on their own, just walking. And it's like quite a weird thing to see, but there's a lot, they want to get away as much as they can for a few days and spend time in nature.
And it's a very I see it, Matt, that is a very unrestricted way of spending time and leisure. You're not having to go down for breakfast. Or
exactly.
You've got to be booking into your room, and and this, from when I've stayed in, and I've done a bit of research and stayed in different places. Water seems to always be key on the filter when you're doing it, either on your website or on Airbnb. They're looking for an outside shower or an outside bath or a hot tub or a view of water or near a lake or whatever. So I think that's quite key. Your site is very dog friendly. You have all animals there. I mean, I was there in the middle of bloody January sometime. There's people staying there having a lovely weekend, aren't they? In the wind and rain. But they've got their little fire pit going and they're sitting on the veranda. You were saying that couple come regularly, don't they?
They've just booked twice more as well. That'd be like their 9th time.
And you're getting a lifetime customer, aren't you? Because you've cuddled them and looked after them. And what I was very interested to see as well is how you're really good at looking at the technology to make that booking easier. And that's what you were explaining to me, that you're trying to get the button pushing down, that they haven't got to fill a great big blooming form out to be part of the experience. Just gently go through it and make it easier. Explain
really
that
important.
A bit.
I mean, this is, it's been a learning curve for us. But definitely to convert more people, you've got to have not just a nice looking website, but just something that's really easy to use.
Friendly.
Because people's attention span are getting shorter and shorter. So if they can't find the book button, a few seconds they're gone, onto something else. It's that fickle sometimes. So you kind of have to look at it from that customer journey kind of point of view and lead people through it, through the website to the booking form. And then it's just so important. And I spoke to the guy that you introduced me to for Google Ads as well, and he just said the same thing. He's like, we're doing this work on the website now to make it better, but he said there's no point in spending money on Google Ads until you've got that website working really well, just no friction, just converting people that visit it.
And I've been doing some work with you to try and get you the better contractors to do that. And the pitfall that I've found is that everybody is a marketing company. Oh no, we do that. We do socials. We do pay per click and stuff like that. Oh, my brother-in-law, he does it in his bedroom. It's cheap. Forget it. Yeah. You need proper commercial contractors that know their sector. So here for Baddow Park House, we use Red Rabbit. Red Rabbit, a great contractor. They just do pay-per-click. That's all they're interested in. That's all they do is that part. I then have Aaron. He just does SEO for low friction websites, but he probably needs to rejig the website to make the pay-per-click join in with the website and join up with the SEO and get the customer. And then they gently tweak them. I mean, we have them on retainers to bring customers in. And I'm, for people listening and watching, don't be shy to go and find good contractors. but make sure you get referenced.
Yeah.
And I only use them because I've referenced through probably 5 other people that are using them. And
I've learned
you know,
that.
And it is, Matt, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because, just cut through the chase and just get to the real people that can do the job.
Absolutely, yeah.
What I'm very interested about that, I'm bullied you because I've said you need to spend more money and you've been hesitant to do it. Tell me what you feel about that. We looked at some finances for bringing up a more quality lodges and stuff up there. Even for me, inquisitively, how do you feel about the risk of that as an entrepreneur? Because you've got your world, it's all going okay, but you're going to put yourself in extra risk. And what do you feel? How do you feel?
No, I'm completely happy with that.
Are you?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm not worried about that at all. I think the way we thought, it was always our plan to put, we put all the services in for another 5 safari tents at the top. But when we first built the site, we massively sort of underestimated how difficult it would be to get the bookings in. Yeah. So when we opened with our shepherd's huts and a row of bell tents there and the camping at the top, I think we just thought, well, let's get the bookings in before we expand.
Right.
Whether that was the right thing to do or not, I don't know. That's how we felt at the time. I think that's why we hadn't done it.
Right.
Rutland, we naively thought this is amazing.
Just come.
We're going to build this and it's going to be full. It's going to be fighting people off. But
it's creating the mechanism of that funnel to get that customer to actually come towards you. And you've got to do more work on social media to do the ambient advertising. But I always really do think that the ambient advertising is great and it's good, but you need to find hunting customers. And the only way you'll find hunting customers is to go and find them as they're clicking in. Glamping Rutland, glamping near water, and then boom, your ads go in there.
Definitely,
But it's expensive. The thing I would say about your site, and if you look his site up, Matt's site, you can't go wrong because the site's too good.
Exactly.
If it was just a field, overlooking a cow, worry about it. But you don't need to do. There is that extra added value that it is such a very, very located site for. I went there with the e-bike and went hacking off round the lake.
See it in the summer; it's unbelievable.
What
in the summertime? Because you went. Was it? Yeah, March and January, wasn't it?
I had a lovely time.
Yeah. I know, but you see it in the summer, it's unbelievable,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah. And you have some other sites, what are you going to do? Will you roll this out once you've got that funnel and
once
done that?
We've cracked that.
And what you're demonstrating today on the pod is to say you really need to work out that funnel before you go and do too much more expense.
I think
that's what we're alluding to, aren't we, when we work together? Okay.
I think so. And I think when you've got that, you've got that model is sorted and you can roll it out. But also then you can leverage the people that have stayed on your first site. Because people keep coming back. They've been back, 7 or 8 times, some of them. You can leverage that and say, look, we're opening another one. Come and stay. I mean, hopefully it'll get easier from then. I think it will.
And again, it's getting them to trust and like you, that it is the same every time they come, and that there is the standard there, and it is maintained, and it is clean and lovely, fresh linen, and all those bits that the girls will comment on, won't they, when they come and stuff. But I think from what I can see, that market of the 2-day and 3-day stay is very, very buoyant. We talk about Harold and Hilda, and they're older people, millenniums that have got time on their hands and have probably a few quid from pensions. They're ready. They don't want to do the big trawl out to Spain anymore. They're probably going to take some little shortcations out in our lovely countryside. I think Britain as a model is broken, that it doesn't expand itself out to ourselves. It tries to bring everybody in from outside, but as people that live in the UK, well, there's so much that we haven't seen, isn't there? And I'm telling you, if you've not been to Rutland Water, and I'm banging on about it, go. It is stunning. And it's not really it's kind of, you have to go left a bit to get to it, don't you? And it's somewhere that you should definitely visit.
I think especially if you're heading up to the north of the country, it's a good stop off,
stop off.
Halfway up the A1. And it's a hidden gem. It's great.
And tell us, what do you think what do you see it all looking in 10 years? How do you see that vision? Sort of explain for the audience really, what do you see it? You've come back to Rutland where you're from. Yeah. You're doing this. You're really into entrepreneurship at the moment. You're doing stewardship with me and with others and stuff, and you're doing all that good stuff. What does it all look like in 10 years for you?
I'd definitely like to have a group of these sites, to keep rolling it out and have 10 or 12 of those would be nice.
All freehold?
Yeah,
all freehold.
Absolutely. I really want to. I'm not particularly interested in lease.
No.
Freehold, build the value of them up, get them busy, and just have a group of them. And I think going off some advice that I've had from you, James, build it up, build something valuable, and then look at selling a group off.
Yeah, and that's really going to be, we've been doing a little bit of work. We've not done that much, but talking about how we do the management for that.
Yeah,
because at the moment you are banging the fence posts in, cutting the grass, and doing bedding. I mean, you and Natalia do it all yourself, don't you?
Yeah,
you do
much.
all of
now
it.
We have a bit of help with grass cutting and stuff like that. But we ridiculous. Really, we do it ourselves.
So you are now becoming an operator and not an entrepreneur. Be careful.
I know.
Be careful.
I need to get out of it.
But you can only do it, and there's a time where you have no choice because the revenues aren't there yet. This, that, and the other. So you are just doing that hard sweat.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to work out that you will end up having a warden perhaps on each site, won't you, when they get busy enough.
It's a really hard thing, isn't it?
It is,
to start building that team and.
Yeah. And it comes with volume, but it's almost chickens and eggs, isn't it? You want it, you should be doing it, but you can't afford to do it. And sometimes it comes all the way back to you have got to pay yourself less and pay someone else more to get through that little bit of a barrier to make it happen.
Yeah.
I think that the sectarian is fantastic. It won't be affected by AI. We look at all these businesses and stuff like that, and that serviceability of what you're doing with accommodation on staycation and stuff is there. Yeah. If you get that right, that is a long-term earning and churning business. It really is.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you got any questions for me while we're on the pod? Is there anything you need to ask me, for others to listen into?
Just going back to that management.
Yeah.
Part of it and building your team up. I think a lot of people wonder that, how to start building the team up, I guess it depends on what business you've got, but what kind of people to hire first. I know that you guys and James Sinclair talks a lot about having an in-house bookkeeper and in-house accounts and all that kind of thing. And it's difficult for people, isn't it? It is like the chicken and egg situation where they're not quite big enough to find them enough work. I mean, do you take people on part-time until?
I think I agree, and for everybody watching and listening, I think that the big thing that you need to understand is when is it affordable to take on these other mouths to feed. And you say we're going to take on a bookkeeper, and he or she could be 30 grand a year. I think the one thing to look at that it's a monthly cost and not an annual cost that helps you digest the bitter pill, if you like. You'll find good bookkeepers that will come in part-time or almost can do it remotely for you. That's one thing, but find them. And you can involve those bookkeepers. I have a great bookkeeper, Linda, but she's involved in finding out about the electricity costs. We give her other tasks to do. We do her for doing credit control, and we give her other tasks to do because she's full-time. And I think the PA thing, you get a PA as soon as you can. You need to know that you're going to be busy enough to warrant that. PAs, go and find a really experienced PA that probably doesn't want to work in the city anymore. They want to come back and have a more rural time. They might want to drop a daughter off to school and then come into work, or they can work from remotely. But they need to have done something big, and now they're going to come and work for you that's probably a smaller thing than they do, because they'll bring a wealth of experience and task solving for you. I really think that management team is, it's something that you need to look at and work on how it will allow you to have more time, but more importantly, work on what are you going to do with all of that new time. And what tasks are you going to do? Because someone's got to pay their bill, and it means that you've got to go out and become the rainmaker to bring more revenue in to actually subsidise where now you're putting them in place.
Yeah.
And eventually, when you've got that big earning and churning machine going, they will be integral to management for it. And once you're Matt, you're super duper at doing processes and technology in place, and a lot of that will take some of the heavy lifting from what you're doing. My advice would be really, once you get them sites hopping, I think a warden would really take some of the stress away, because they would do the turn for you, they could do some of the remedial maintenance on the site for you, and they would get a home from you, because you could actually probably allow them to live on site. I went to a caravan site in Malden the other day. The wardens are living there.
It's a dream job for somebody, right?
Dream job. They love it. They bump into all these nice people. They sell the brand. Hi, you're welcome. Do you need to buy any more logs? And you've got someone there. And now that visitor to the site feels cuddled, feels secure, because there's someone on site. And I think that would be the dream that I would look at for you, to be able to afford to do that, and that will come from how you're doing with your bookings and getting and extending the season into the winter. Because I think you can do it. I mean, there's some hard standing issues that you might have to sort of wrestle with a bit. But, I think that people are prepared. If they've got those decks and fire pits and hot tubs and stuff, they are prepared to go and have a chilly sit out on the deck with a big blanket round them, What else, when you go into the future, you're doing that? Are there any other businesses that you're looking to do?
I would love to get into commercial property. It just excites me. I like the idea. I like being around it. I like the idea of it.
The model, and you're right. We haven't spoken about that yet. And the model that I try and help people with is to say that, once you've got that thing hopping and moving, and there are profits, you're either going to give them to the tax man and go and sit on your boat and smoke cigars and champagne and die early, or you're going to actually start putting that, not paying tax on it, and now putting it into some commercial property that becomes your pension. It becomes your backbone spine. It's very easy to manage. Find good tenants. And when I look at that and work with people for it, it's not hard. You just need to learn some new language, some new rules, how to understand leases, how to understand deposits, and some laws, ECPs, electricity certificates. It's very simple. And from how I know you, Matt, you'd get your head around that very quickly. It's all about hunting the deals. The biggest problem is finding the property. And I think that's the hard thing. And then finding it in the right place with the right rent rolls. If you go to deep Lincolnshire, the other side of you, that's in the middle of blooming nowhere, you can find loads of commercial property, but it's only renting for a couple of quid a foot a year. We're very lucky here in the southeast. We're renting out of like £10 plus a foot. It's a more buoyant market. But the shed's still the same shed, it's just in a different location. It's probably dearer definitely to buy here than it would be up there. But I think, for other people listening and watching, the commercial property, to have that as part of your portfolio is kind of where you should be. It's holding some banked gold for you. We're trying to do a section, a feature. Don't you call it a feature, Ollie? We're trying to add features in. What is our features? Talk to us.
So today our feature is just going to be a question. And yesterday we were at a conference, and one of the topics that came up was legacy brands. And my question for you today is, if you were to buy a legacy brand, what legacy brand would you buy? And it'd be ideal if it was a household name.
Okay. So everybody, this is the voice behind the technology is Oliver. Oliver Loom is behind the technology. Oliver, how is all your new equipment going, by the way, before we answer that question?
It's going okay. It's all turned on. We're going to have to replace a couple of bits.
Oliver came up with a budget. I fell over, then got up. I said to you, you sure you need all this stuff? And we've had like the boxes have just continually turned up in the office. No one will touch it or open it because it's got your name all over it. But we've put it all together today, so we hope it's all working all right. Legacy brands. How much money have we got? Unlimited money.
I'd say infinite money.
Infinite money. Go on then, Matt. What would you buy?
Thinking about it, and maybe this is cliche and a bit obvious, but I just Virgin brand, right? Because it's just fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
And I like the variation of it, and it's just all the leisure stuff they do. It's just great fun.
When you look at him, it's all to do with transport, leisure.
Yeah.
So it's in the masses of moving people from A to B, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what I like about Branson is he's always trying to do it with a blue ocean twist on it. That is, they're getting a quicker ride, or they're getting a better food, or they'll be able to see films. I think he came up with films, didn't he?
On flights,
on flights.
It's very cool. And
so Virgin,
I think so.
So you really want to be the next Richard Branson? I can see that in you. Yeah, no, it's very interesting. That. I'd have to look at you in a different light now. Virgin. What would I like? I think if I had all the money, I'd go for Costco. They are phenomenal. I mean, I've just listened to the Acquired podcast about Costco, and it's like they've got like 2/3 of their revenue comes from just their subscription membership. Have you listened to it?
No, not that one.
Oh, it's a great listen.
Yeah, I need to check that out.
But Costco, they just put 14% on everything.
Yeah.
And they could get more on stuff. They could double stuff, but they don't. They keep it to that. And sometimes a pallet will hit the floor. They don't need to pay for it for 30 days. It's sold within 3 days. And so then they're never out of cash. Their cash is always there for them. But Costco.
Yeah.
Okay, so Costco and Virgin. So you'd be all like frothy and lovely and romantic, and I'd just be in warehouses with forklifts. That's all right. Seems fine. I love a warehouse. I love a warehouse. There you go. Yeah. Okay. Well, I've really enjoyed having you. I hope you've enjoyed Baddow Park.
I've loved
hospitality.
It's lovely. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
It's all right. We've had a good time.
Yeah.
And we Matt and I talk a lot on the phone, trying to solve problems and do stuff.
We do. It's good.
And even if I'm now visiting a business or somewhere anywhere north, I go, is there any chance I could probably stay at Rutland for the night just to break the journey up? And he's always very accommodating, so I've enjoyed
Anytime.
it. Yeah. Okay. Well, if you've enjoyed today, and you want to see more content where we chat to entrepreneurs of the quality of Matthew, look us up on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. Find us, give us a review, tell us what you think of what you've listened to and what you would like us to talk about more, and how can we add in more fun and features. That's it. You come up with the suggestions and I'll give Oliver the headache to try and work it all out. So thank you very much, and if I'm very lucky, I'll see you on the next one.